Hi everybody, and welcome to my forecast for July. Once again, I'm using the Publishing Oracle's Oracle Dice, second edition. So it's got the extra beautiful cloth, the case with all the die, which I really love. And because I got in early on the Kickstarter, I also got the special deck. So what we're going to start off with is picking a card for the month of July. And the card we get is the Bearer of Boons. So as that comes up in the die, we will explore that further. So we're just going to open up our case. Isn't this gorgeous? I just love this set so much. And we have this chaos die. It's tricky for me to get out. Right in the center. I may just dump. Oh, there we go. We got it out. And a lot of times that one flies off for me. It doesn't always stay on the mat. So whatever doesn't stay on the mat, we just don't count for this reading. It's not part of the reading this time. So we have all our die. There's so many. I love it. I love this new set so much. Just going to take them all. Place the intent that whoever catches this reading, who's supposed to catch it, this is for the month of July. Okay, everything stayed on the map, so this should get really interesting, including the chaos die. Okay. So I do use the book because there's so much to this that I really love to make sure that we garner all the meanings possible. So first we're going to look up the chaos die. And I love that this is all color-coded, so it makes it really easy for us to find them. And it's also, there we go. Chaos die is the only die in the set with more than 6 faces. It brings chaos and it brings it in spades. This should be interesting. Only included in readings when you desire things to be strange, changed, or altered. Well, it's included itself, so that's how we're looking at it. All right, so the face that comes up on the chaos die this time, it's a shadow. So if you can see here, it's a little figure casting a shadow, and it's shown up under foundation. So it says it's merely the outline of our shapes or a close sibling hugging at our heels. Shadow is ourselves, an abstraction, merely a shape. So it says dice, cards, and otherwise are read inverted in the face of the shadow. All items in the same quarter as shadow are read in reverse or in shadow while they reside with this die. So in other words, everything that's here under foundation, and we have 3 that landed there, we're going to read the shadow side of those particular die. So now we know. Well, let's start at the beginning with our action dice. So we are looking for our purple dice. The colors in this are so rich, and we see it's landed in the past, and it is known as Helm. I'll show it to you there. It's a mask with wings. So it's showing up in the past, and it's about relating to our need to weather difficult situations. So it's basically saying that we've had difficult times in the past, and that's still informing the present. So if there are things we fear, limiting beliefs, anything like that, that might be coming up for us now. So those old ghosts might be coming forward, old patterns that we need to work on. So it is showing up in the past for us. And if we go to the alchemist die, it's in our future. That's what our dice looks like. That's the face that's up. So for our future, it is iron. And it is a modern symbol for man. It speaks to solid matter, strength, and power in the form of solidity. So it speaks to solidity and defense coming from a person. It can defend or attack on behalf of a person. It's a very human defense, physical and protective. So it says here it's heavily influenced by the influencing die, and it's paired with another dice. So we're going to see how that comes up. So what this says to me is there's protection going forward, but we're going to see how it relates to the other dice that it's next to. And we're just going to take this methodically as we go through the book. It's the easiest way to do it rather than do a lot of jumping around. So now we come to the alley die, also in the future, and it's an eye. So with the alley die, it's about truth. So it's looking on at things as they are. Truth is shared every day. In a reading, it asks you to see something just for what it is. So stop placing unnecessary weight on things. It's sandwiched right next to another dice. And again, it's coming from the future. So it's going to be interesting to see how those die pair up as well. So it says truth is unique in that it really believes it can look without bias, but it can't. None of us can. So listen to its advice. See what it gazes on. But understand that sometimes the biases we bring to a topic, action, or event are as important as the event itself was. Now we come to the attentions die. Okay, and that is in the present. So we see what almost looks like a halo, but it's a hole. So it's showing up in the present. And it's that dark pit where no light shines, where things are tossed, abandoned, forgotten. Hole is that space where nothing is meant to return. So when things are in the hole, it's the things we want to entirely forget. When I think of the hole, I think of the void. So if right now you find you're feeling kind of lost, you're not sure what your next step is, maybe you're not even sure who you are, something has changed so dramatically that you're just feeling like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what's next, I just know that the past has kind of disappeared out from under me and I can't see the future, then you would be in the hole, in the present. So next is our autumn die. We have it showing up under momentum, and it's an hourglass. It represents time. Time is the acceptance of things moving. Isn't it interesting? It ended up under momentum. So it's read as seasonal, but in this case we're not using the flip side of the cloth, which shows the seasons. So it's represented by an hourglass that speaks to the inevitability of time and the passing of all things into the future. So in other words, it's saying, don't wait, just keep moving forward. So even if you find right now in the present you're in this hole, it's saying there's going to be movement forward. So take heart. Things will change, even if right now you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So now we come to the chaos die, which we've already read. We know that the die that are sitting along foundation here are going to be read for the shadow side of things. Okay, the elements die. And what we have, it's showing up under fated. It's this leaf. And it represents earth. So when you're looking at this die, it's about a strong foundation. It's offered unconditionally. It speaks to the foundations in our world, a need to reconnect to nature, whatever that means to you, finding your roots. So in other words, there's an expression, let what goes go, let what comes come, notice what remains. So it's showing up under fated to say you're always grounded with the earth. So even if there's things right now really in flux in your life and really changing a lot, there's always that strong foundation on which to rely. And part of that is acknowledging your soul chose to come to the earth at this time. You have a path to walk. Even if you can't see it right now, there's some solidity to that. There is a foundation, even if it's not always easy to find. Okay? And now we come to the fate die. And the fate die shows up under fated, interestingly enough, as this little group of sevens. So it's the face of a slot machine, and it says great luck is locked into this die, and it moves with it. So if it ends up in a corner with no other dice, it likely speaks to incredible opportunity, unstruck gold just waiting over there for you. So the fact that it's showing up under fated suggests that good fortune is going to come to you. If you're watching this, I no doubt you're on a spiritual path, you're working on yourself. The universe tends to support people doing this work. So it's saying that you've got a solid foundation, fortune is there if you do the work. Remember, the future's never carved in stone. It shows possibilities. It's up to you whether you do the work so those possibilities can emerge in your life. So it's saying even if right now you feel like you're in that hole, that fortune is there, that good luck is there, should you do all the work that's required of you in this. Okay, we have the Goblin's die. It's one of my favorites. It's showing up in the core. And it's this cute little goblin under the moon. So when we see a dice in this fall into the core, we read the core portion. It says, obsession finds its way to the core of readings often, hungry for attention and acceptance of its presence. The reading then is focused entirely on what the obsession is and what it forgoes in its constant chase. So I would say in this case, from what we're seeing so far, obsession may be with, I want to know my path. I want to know who I am. I want those answers now. And sometimes you just have to recognize if you push the river, if you try to get to those answers too soon, you're going to miss an important step and you're not going to get where you needed to go. So bear that in mind. We need balance and we need patience. So we have the influencer's dice. And in this case, where is our influencer's dice? Sometimes it's a little tricky finding everything on here. We might just come back to that one, because for some reason it's not jumping out to me. Okay. We will check back on that in a little bit. The bearer of boons presides over the kindness die. It says the bearer is not a friend and it's not a foe. It's like a legend of happiness. So when it arrives in a reading, it speaks to a gift of goodness, a friendly hand, a shoulder to cry on, the extra money you needed. As a card, it's a positive omen of good things coming. So again, this is pretty nice for July. That card that I pulled is a positive omen. It's saying good things are coming your way in July, so yay. And when we look at the kindness die, what we see, and remember, it's next to this dice that's all about the truth. And what we see here, get the right face up, it's a stitch. So it says, stitches may show what a wound is and how to heal it based on the dice around it, but mark that the die on its own speaks for itself. So it speaks to the need for mending or the reminder of things that have been mended. It's coming up in the future, so it's saying a situation here is going to have to be mended by speaking the truth. So think about a situation right now where maybe you're struggling. Maybe you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Maybe you're dealing with a challenging situation. It's saying you're going to have to be straightforward about it in this situation if it's going to get resolved. Okay. And we look at the longings die. And that one is showing up as this little masked face, and it's showing up under foundation, and we're supposed to read the shadow side of it. It says, mask is expressly hiding your true intentions to fool or manipulate others. It doesn't even have to be horrible ends. It can be as simple as making them look foolish. It may also be as bad as hiding your true wretched intentions in your interactions with them. Sometimes it's just a white lie. So it's not in itself good or bad. It's saying at your foundation, notice where you're not always honest. Interesting, it comes after these die, which is all about mending a situation by telling the truth. So it's looking at where do you tend to not be straightforward. Maybe you're setting poor boundaries. Maybe you're not letting somebody know when they've crossed a line with you, and you need to be straightforward and clear with them, even if it takes you out of your comfort zone. That's how I would interpret that one. And the majors die. The majors die also sitting in foundations is meant to be read as the shadow. It's an ultimatum, unfair, unnecessary, and difficult. So when we see that, that to me feels like where we are railing against a situation that we don't want to have to deal with. It's having to look at the fact that we're going to have to step outside our comfort zone here, be honest about something, even though we really don't want to do it. You know, when you have to stand up to somebody, you have to speak a truth you really don't want to speak. It's going to be uncomfortable. And it could be somebody's issuing an ultimatum to you, too, where they're saying, you either accept me the way I am and put up with my behavior or get out of here. So it can suggest that there could be some major tension in having to speak your truth and be honest, possibly causing a rift in a relationship. And because it's at the foundation, it could be a fundamental relationship, like with parents, kids, what have you, partners. It's a big deal. Bear in mind we have a lot of good fortune showing up in here as well, which suggests that's probably part of the natural spiritual growth needed to free up your energy to move into a better situation for yourself. So we have the Mariner's die. We have a little ship showing up under the inevitable. So with this one, it says this is about being close to people on your journey, letting your relationships help drive you. It often puts you in a particular place and role within the group, but one that you excel at. So if you think of it from a spiritual point of view, it is showing up after the future, over the fated. It's saying it's inevitable that if you do this work, you're going to have an important role to play and you're going to excel at it. Again, you might think of it as reaching your highest aim. How can I be the best person I can be? How can I make a difference in my community? That sort of thing is coming up. And our Metamorphosis die, with this one, it might be hard to see that, but that's the cocoon for the butterfly. The chrysalis. So this is about being kind to yourself, working on yourself. It's very much about going within in order to make changes. So when I see where it's fallen, I find it very interesting. We have this situation here where you're going to have to tell the truth to somebody to deal with a situation, to mend it. There's going to be a lot of internal work involved. So that's showing up in the future. And remember, we also have protection here, and we're going to find out what this is related to. So it's suggesting there might be some challenging work to do here. It's part of the inner work on yourself. But there's protection in that even if you have to do this difficult thing, it's generally taking you in a better direction. So now when we look at the obstacles die, and it's showing up in the core as somebody in prison. See a little person there behind bars. When oppression, this is what this one is, arrives in the center of a reading, it focuses the entire reading on the sense of oppression. Who is doing it, who is feeling it, and is it something that can be stopped? I find that really interesting because we had the one die talking about obsession and this one, oppression, in the core of the reading. So what that suggests to me is having to deal with an unbalanced relationship. You might be obsessed with people pleasing, with trying to make things right, but you're in a situation where there's oppression, where you're not being treated with respect. And it's basically, you're just going to have to deal with it. This reading is really bringing up for this month a positive outcome from having done the hard work of addressing a relationship that is not balanced, respectful, working in a direction that's positive for you. We look at the relations die. It is next to the helm die in the past. So that's the relations die. And that one is apart. So when it's showing up in here, it's about melancholy, a sense of longing, things being apart. Because it's showing up in your past, it suggests when you put those two together, having gone through a very difficult situation, it might have been your parents split up or past relationships that were breakups, and it's basically saying you've had a rocky situation in the past. The universe is saying, now look at how the same pattern is playing out in the present. It's time to deal with it. So now we have the spring die. It's showing up under Fated, and there's a little Joker hat. So it's called the Jester. And it's saying, it can be a warning that you're about to take a fall from not thinking a situation through enough before taking a leap of faith. It can also be speaking of another, perhaps someone that you know who can help protect and prevent that fall if they warn you in enough time. So the fact that it shows up under Fated and it shows up with the lucky dice, it suggests that if you do take a fall, you will recover from it. When we look at this whole situation where we're dealing with some kind of an oppressive relationship that needs to be dealt with, it suggests this might not be easy. You might not handle it as smoothly as you would like to, but you will recover from it and move forward, having learned a lot from the situation. And we come to the Suits die. And the Suits die sits also under Fated, and it's a crown. And with the crown, it's a unique die because it's basically the concept of the major arcana. It says any dice next to it is really important. And the important thing is it's sitting in Fated next to the earth one, the foundation one. It's saying basically have faith in your path. Even though there's challenges being presented, trust that your foundation is solid. You can always come back. And a lot of times it's your inner foundation. You can always come back to doing that work on yourself, trusting your path. Your path is going to present challenges. That's what spiritual paths do. They point out to us the things that we need to learn and grow on. So it's saying trust your path. Even though there are challenges, luck is part of this, and you can take a fall, but you can recover from it. So it's just saying you may have some stumbling along the way. That's okay. All part of the path. Trust that. Now we have the summer die. That shows up under the present. We have a little fist. So it can talk about battles, fights, injustice, inequality. When it's with other die, it rarely ever has explicit interactions. So what you're seeing here is at the present some sort of an argument, some sort of an issue where you're kind of feeling a bit lost on it. You might feel like you're not really feeling heard. So it's showing this situation erupting in the present. Maybe you've set poor boundaries. Maybe you've let somebody walk on you and you don't really have a sense of yourself because you've kind of given that away. Whatever you want, I'll do it if it makes you happy. But you abdicated your own feelings in the situation. So it's showing this is coming to a head now, and going forward this month, you're going to need to speak your mind and address it. And remember, there is protection around addressing this too. We look at the winter die, that's the one that is being, the protection is there for. And it's the moon. So it says, sometimes this can mean someone is tricking us intentionally or accidentally, making things appear to be one way when they are the opposite. It's saying, look at any misperception. When you see these two together, it's saying even if somebody has been dishonest with you, you are protected. That it's a situation you're going to be able to work through and overcome. And the wounds die also shows up in the core. And now I can see the other one that I was missing, so we'll come back to that. The wounds die shows a little dude with an arrow through his head. He's showing up under wounds. So it's often read in shadow. It's either so central the whole situation revolves around it, or it's so central because it's inescapable. In either case, it's a massive hurt that affects the entire rest of the reading and beyond. So it is saying this relationship we're talking about, you've been getting really hurt in this relationship. And maybe you're a very strong person, and maybe you're able to tell yourself, I can deal with this, it's okay, they don't really mean this. You're going to have to deal with the situation and face it. For you to move forward, think of it this way. The 5 people that you surround yourself with most really determine the direction that you're heading. Are you surrounded by people who are uplifting, who are supportive, who cheer you on and do everything they can to help you reach a higher aim because they're also aiming high? Or are they somebody who's negative, who pulls you down, who actually pulls you backward on your path because they rob you of energy? Remember, if somebody's robbing us of energy, we're allowing it. We're saying yes to things we should be saying no to. We need to speak up in those situations. And remember, nature abhors a vacuum. If you have a talk with somebody, they don't like it and they step away, they're making space for somebody else to step in who's more of a reflection of the direction that you're heading. So you may have heard me say this if you've done a session with me. Place intent. What is the highest you're reaching for? And then ask yourself, who am I spending time with? What am I doing? What am I thinking about? Is it taking me in that direction, or is it anchoring me to the past? Okay. So now we go back to the die that we missed, which is also the influencer's die, which is also showing up in the core. It looks a little bit different in the color in the book than it does in the actual die, hence my confusion. So it shows up as a smile. It focuses on the heavy cost of good intentions, either had by others or you. Stay open. It can be hard to hear. It can be even harder to draw those boundaries. So in other words, all the best of your intentions have led to this situation where you're not being treated with respect, where things aren't going in the direction they should. So when I look at this overall spread, it becomes really clear. We're looking at a relationship that's a reflection of our core patterns, where we've agreed to things or we've gone along with things that are hurting us, that don't feel good for us. and we haven't really spoken our minds and said, hey, I have a problem with this. This isn't working for me. We need to shift gears. And sometimes we don't have those discussions because we're afraid that person will walk away. A lot of us will hang on to what we know rather than risk the unknown. But that means that we make our lives very small and really unhappy ones if we hold on to relationships that are destructive and hurtful. So you're really being called upon this month to address the situation. What do you need? It's not selfish to meet your needs. When we feel good about ourselves, when we have joy, we have energy, we have confidence, we can actually give more to other people. If we're allowing somebody to put us down, to make us feel bad, then it's costing us so much energy just to try to handle that situation every day. We have less energy for the things we really are here to do and for the people we want to care for. So it's a pretty interesting month, and I love working with this set because as you go through each dice, it becomes so obvious. It's saying you've got a strong foundation, you're protected, good things are coming your way, but you're going to have to do this work. You're going to have to call a spade and be really honest in this situation that it's not working for you. It needs to change. And if that person can't change or won't change, what's plan B? What are you prepared to do for yourself? Remember, it's never about the other person changing. It's always about us working on ourselves. So if somebody in our life is hurting us and we don't speak up, we don't decide we deserve better and we're going to take care of ourselves, we're going to continue to get walked on and it's not going to go in a good direction. Think about if you had a friend in the same situation, what your advice would be for them. Now be your own best friend and take your advice. So that's my reading for July. I hope you've enjoyed it. I absolutely love working with this set. I'll see you again next month. Have a great July, everybody. I hope you come out the other side of this having grown tremendously and freed up space in your life for more joy, either because that person shifts with you or because they shift away and make space for somebody more in alignment with the direction you're going. Hang in there, everyone. See you next month.